Good morning, fans of TBT. We are once again excited to be talking up the basketball tournament. My opinion, the best part of the summer. Our guest today is the executive director of Sideline for Cancer. He is one of the two, or they are one of the two teams remaining from the inaugural TBT tournament. Our guest today is Jordan Griffith. We are going to be discussing the past, the present, and the future of Sideline Cancer. Thank you for joining us, Jordan.
Yeah, thank you for having me here. I'm excited to be on this today.
So, what is sideline cancer?
So there's actually it's multiple phased, but Sideline Cancer in a nutshell started as a 501c3 nonprofit that raised money for pancreatic cancer research. My dad was diagnosed after scoring 40 points in a basketball game, 40 and over, when he was 48 years old. That night, him and my mom went to church, then to dinner, and he turned yellow. By Wednesday of that week, so 4 days later, he was told he had 2 to 6 weeks to live. So pancreatic cancer is the viper of all vipers. That's why our colors are purple. I don't know if you can see them there on the logo. But in 2020, we kind of pivoted. My dad's doctor was one of the best surgeons in the country. My dad passed away about after 19 months. I wanted to cycle back to that. So he got 2 to 6 weeks. He lived 19 months. My dad's doctor was the best in the world surgically, and was researching for a cure. And so we funded about $300,000 over that to his research out of Beth Israel Deaconess Hospital at Harvard University. Then in 2020, we pivoted. He died, unfortunately, and we became more patient centric. So obviously, COVID was a problem, but in 2020 in TBT, it literally propelled us to become a household name in communities and basketball communities across the United States. From that, we now host events at 30 to 35 different high schools and universities in central Pennsylvania. We did just under $100,000 this last school year in donations to about 35 different patients battling cancer. We use the power of sports to do so. And without a doubt, TBT has been one of the main reasons as to why we've seen the growth. Like we sold about 5,000 T-shirts this year, $5 of which goes directly to a patient in the community battling cancer. We have an AAU program now that plays for something bigger than basketball, just like our TBT teams do. We have 50 teams total between girls and boys basketball, and then we have a few softball teams as well. And so that's the philanthropy in a nutshell. It goes back to Mo Creek hitting the shot in 2020 and sending us to the championship game when we trended on Twitter that night. It was Fauci, us, and Kanye West. So we've used that moment to do good for other people. You know, in the last 3 years, we've raised about $250,000 in total for roughly about 60 to 70 different patients.
That is the great thing about the TBT. I love how there, of course, are the alumni teams, but there are teams like yours that have really helped folks over the years. I know with there's an ALS team. There's a couple other ones that have done some
Yeah.
really good work, but obviously the fact that you've been there since the beginning, you guys have done, I mean, the most. I understand that what was it, since 2022, you've donated over 500,000.
Not since 2022. So since the inception, we've donated about $600,000 now. 2020 and 2021 were kind of dead just because of COVID. But since 2022, we've donated almost $250,000 to various cancer patients across the state of Pennsylvania and actually beyond as well.
Oh wow, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, so $250,000 since our new concept rolled out in 2022.
So it sounds like sideline cancer had been around prior to the TBT. But how did you get started in the TBT? What inspired that? I mean, it sounds like your dad's love for basketball was a big part of it.
Yeah, so my mom always tells this story, and she probably tells it better than me. But whenever my dad was sick in the summertime, you know, we're in that time period right now. The NBA Finals ends. What else is on TV? Nothing. My dad would always be like, "I wish there was something on that gave people something to watch that you actually cared about." And then about 3 years later, after his death, Billy Clapper, our general manager, who's from Hollidaysburg, where we're from, called us with an idea to play for something bigger than basketball. You know, he had seen the email go out about TBT. And the first year, the best player on that, not the best player, but one of the captains on the team was actually my high school teammate who played at the University of Buffalo. and him and Billy put the team together. Charlie Parker, who ended up is now our head coach, has been with us since day one. He was on the original team. Charlie was the best player on that original team, and the rest is kind of history. That original team, though, they were going to donate all the money that they won. It was $500,000 to the foundation. We've changed that concept a little bit since then to become more competitive in this tournament. But Billy's been our GM since day one. Charlie's was our best player, captain, and then it's just like high school kids, they graduate, college kids, they graduate, pros, you got to cut them. And so that's a little difficult sometimes, but we cut Charlie and then asked him to be our head coach 1 minute later. And Charlie's now the president of our AAU basketball program, and is a very active member in the Sideline Cancer organization.
That 2020 obviously was a huge year. You had Marcus getting the point guard for the tournament. Actually, not just 2020 for him, but 2020 and 2021.
Yeah.
Billy, of course, winning the GM of the year for that. And then, of course, beating the overseas elite, which at one point it felt like no one was ever going to beat them.
Yeah.
Making it to the finals. Obviously, those are some really great memories, but are there any other memories that are at the top of your list?
From TBT, the shot against overseas elite definitely takes the cake at the top. Not far below that, though, is in 2021, Marcus hit a pretty iconic shot when we were down 4 against Eastern Tennessee State to go to the Elite Eight, and they missed 2 layups. Marcus grabs the rebound. We were down 2 at the time and he pulls it from the logo in the Charleston Arena in West Virginia, and nothing but the bottom of the cup. Now, and it was kind of different too, because like in 2020 there was no crowd. Then in 2021 you could have like a half a crowd, and so it was actually at max capacity given the half crowd status, because West Virginia and Marshall were playing next, and it was pretty iconic, the shot that Marcus hit there. But on top of that, some of the other memorable moments, without a doubt, going to Wichita. TBT kind of told us, we'll give you a televised game on ESPN in 2019 if you travel to Wichita. And they didn't say be the sacrificial lamb, but we were supposed to be the sacrificial lamb against Kansas. And we were willing to take that to get an ESPN game, and we beat Kansas by almost 30 that night. Mo Creek had a big night. Remy had a big night. That was Marcus's first game with us. And then we turned around the next night and played Wichita State in front of a sold-out crowd. At the time, was the biggest crowd in TBT history. So in back-to-back nights, we played in front of the 2 biggest crowds in TBT history, 6,500 and 7,000 out in Wichita against Kansas and Wichita State. And then we beat Wichita State on their home court. Then we turned around and played our arch nemesis, Marquette, who beat us in the championship in 2020. We played in front of about 60 people on Sunday. And, 3 ESPN games, though, and they beat us. They were the better team both times that they beat us. The second time was pretty even. For the first time we played them, it wasn't as even. They beat us pretty soundly. They played well that game. But those are the moments that stick out most to me at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have had some amazing highlights over the years. Like you were saying, that shot from half court, good Lordy, it feels like every year they play the heck out of that. During the team,
yeah,
when we're at the games and all, you look up at the Jumbotron and you're seeing that highlight of a shot he made. So, I mean, yeah, it's definitely Sideline Cancer is synonymous with the TBT. You mentioned Billy's been there since the beginning. Tell us a little bit about Billy as a GM.
So Billy, coincidentally, and I can smile now because, he's battling, but he's definitely a lot better than he was 6 months ago. He's battling cancer. And so this is something that is hitting very close to home for him right now. But notice I smile when I say that because he's doing a lot better than he was doing before, which goes to show, this year in particular has extra meaning to him. He's not battling pancreatic cancer. We've kind of become became a foundation that's more universal. We raise awareness about pancreatic cancer because it is the second most deadly cancer there is out there behind brain. And Billy's battling and is doing well right now. But Billy, since day one, has been a consummate pro when it comes to TBT. You know, collectively now, I would say we're much more on the same page now than we've probably ever been. And we've battled the highs and the lows of how do you build a roster. Billy always kind of knew how to build it, and I would say I'll actually say I maybe was the one that got in the way a little bit of Billy building his team sometimes. But he's done a fantastic job, and his mind's always been on the mission, which is to help Sideline Cancer build their brand through this tournament, which is inevitably our number one mission is to win this thing. But what comes along with winning it is the amount of lives that we've been able to touch. And I think more so than ever, people inside the organization see at how important TBT has been to the impact that we've had in our community for people. Literally, when people get diagnosed now, they look to Sideline Cancer and go, if they need help financially, and we're able to bring communities together to do that. And none of that would be possible without Billy Clapper as our general manager.
He's had a huge role. And then, like you said, Charlie Parker's been there since the beginning, which I'm not going to lie to you. Every time I say his name, I feel like I'm talking about the musician.
Yeah.
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 Obviously, not talking about the musician. But yeah, shoot. Tell us about his transition. Like you said, at one point, you're like, hey, unfortunately, we got to let you go, but we want you to be our head coach. I mean, that must have been an interesting time. And then, of course, just how successful he's been as a coach.
Yeah. For as good as Charlie was as a player, I would say that he's even better, as a coach. And he's always been a consummate pro, number one. He understands our mission, which makes it even, better for him and for us. And he's able to relate to the players because he was once one of them. No, he was not a former NBA guy. He's also just not a former college guy. Like, he's a former pro that played in similar leagues to these guys. Did he ascend to the EuroLeague status? No. But because of that, there's not a lot of EuroLeague guys playing in this tournament. Because of that, he has immediate respect because he's been in these guys' shoes before. And he understands, he's been to a TBT championship. He's also lost in the first round, and so he's kind of had that experience that very few others, obviously the guys at Eberline Drive, they've had that experience before. The Ohio States, the overseas elites, Syracuse, but there's not a lot of them that have been able to say, hey, we've kind of been there, done that, experienced the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. And I think Charlie, more so than anybody else in this tournament, does a really good job of managing those expectations, relaying information off to the players, and building those relationships that are trust based. The players trust Charlie, and that's his greatest attribute, is his ability to relate to them.
What you're saying about the highs and the lows. It makes me sad that Dayton's not a part of the team or tournament this year, because I know they have experienced both of those and they've been around a long time.
Yeah, it's TBT is not easy to do. It's
Oh,
really
no.
difficult. And so it's one of those situations that if everybody's not going in the same direction, like Everline Drive, like we talk to them enough. I should say Billy does, but they're very similar to us. Like, everyone's kind of rowing in a similar direction. It's easy to have people go in a million different directions, and when you disagree, it creates animosity, rivalry. The fact that we say our greatest achievement is actually the fact that we've done this for 13 years and we don't hate each other yet. we still like each other. So
In those 13 years, you're 17 and 11. I mean, that has got to feel great being able to be above 500.
yeah, I mean, being 500 is really hard in this tournament because that means you have to win the first round. Um, we haven't lost a first round game since 2018, which is a pretty impressive statistic in our opinion. Obviously overseas elite winning, what was it, 4 in a row, 5 in a row. I mean, that's incredible. That's probably never being broken. But the sheer fact that winning 6 or 7 in a row like we've done in the first round might not seem all that impressive, but when you talk about, like, overseas elite's not even in TBT anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Syracuse took years off. Like, Dayton's not in it. It's hard to do. And just getting on the court, let alone winning a game, is very, very challenging. And so, being in it, like I said, like being in it as long as we have, and I forget what your original original question was, he definitely has lended itself to us understanding at least what's it going to do to make us be competitive in the first and the second round. And what happens from there, you can't really control.
Exactly. Yeah, I was going to say it was about just how you all have such a great record, the 17 and
Oh,
11. I mean, that's
yeah.
phenomenal. You definitely amongst it's probably you all, Eberline Drive, and Overseas Elite for most wins in the TBT. I mean, Ohio State's probably up there as well.
Yeah, Ohio State's up there, and so is
Bayheim,
Overseas Elite still.
yeah. So definitely,
Marquette as well, even though they haven't played in a while.
oh yeah.
Because
So yeah,
they won like 11 in 2 years. I
yeah,
mean,
that is phenomenal.
that's an
So
unbelievable streak.
exactly. So with that, I mean, at some point, probably in the next year or two, you guys will be taking over as the most wins, I would think.
You got to win first. You know what I mean? Like every year, like it don't matter who you play. Every team scares you. Like I know we got our matchup today against Mad Cats, but every matchup scares you. Like they got a couple really high level players. One playing in Italy Pro A. And it's playing at a high level. Like Marcus played at that level. Mike Dom, who played for us, played at that level, and they ain't putting up the stats that this guy's putting up. And so, I forget his name just because we just found out who our matchups were yesterday. And so, this team's going to be a really tough first round opponent. And, we're hoping we can lean on the fact that our guys have played together 1 year now. This is our third installment of a complete rebuild. And this is, Coffee's on his third year. Braxton's on his third year, then everybody else is in their second year with us. And so we're hoping familiarity will help us in this first round.
Speaking of that, they also have that going for them as well, because I understand that their team won the HBCU, the Welcome Home tournament. So
Yes.
yeah,
I'm still trying to learn because I don't really know what that actually means. You know what I'm saying? But they've definitely played together. Now, whether those guys that are the high level players playing over in Italy and they played on the roster, I don't know that at the moment. If you ask me a week from now, I'd probably know that, but it's still a little fresh to know those things. But yeah, there's definitely familiarity with this group because, they won that HBCU tournament.
now the person I always love asking you about is one who I think, quite frankly, without them, I don't know if this would be where it is. Your mother, Catherine. Tell us a
Yep.
little bit about her and her important role as a booster and just what she's meant to the sideline cancer.
Yeah, so when Billy approached her back in 2013 about this tournament, my mom immediately went to what my dad said about nothing being on in the summer and was like, "Yep, this is the direction that we need to go." And the one cool thing about TBT is every year we've been a part of it, it's gotten bigger, and my mom's role has probably become more and more important. And every year she's been able to step up to the challenges. We guide her along the journey, but inevitably she has to be the one that makes the final call. And there's no doubt about it. TBT's gotten more expensive, every single year since its inception. First year, we were barely spending anything. Now it's, we're fundraising for this stuff. Got sponsors, those type of things. And a lot of that is because of the power of my mom, and she's able to go out there and do those things to kind of help us get on the court. It's really selfless because she doesn't call play. She doesn't, really, even talk about the players that we're bringing back. She tries to make relationships with some of these players. Louisville's a little bit far for us to travel, so she doesn't travel as far anymore. But for the first 10 years, she was at every single game up until 2020. Obviously with COVID, and then that's kind of like when she started to scale back a little bit. And but none of this would be possible without her, which is kind of cool. We're a woman-led organization, and in a tournament led by men, and that's a true statement. Like it's not falsified or anything like that. Like her role is significant in this.
Exactly, because that's the nice thing about your all's organization. Like you said, she runs the thing, as opposed to there have been other organizations I've seen in the TBT where they had a figurehead head coach at one point. One of the teams was like, oh yeah, we have a woman's coach, but she really wasn't the coach. There was an assistant coach there who was,
Yeah,
yeah,
running the show.
exactly. So, and the crazy thing is, there are so many women with basketball experience nowadays, I mean,
Yeah.
heck, there are women head coaches in the big three, so anything's possible. Yeah,
Yep. Oh yeah, there's no doubt about it. The women's game, it's no longer lagging behind the men nearly as much. Like, I spend most of my time actually in the high school game on the AAU side, actually on the girls side, and it's coming. Meaning, like, the players are very very good right now. Like, on
oh
the girls side, there's just not as many of them, but it's coming. Like,
yeah,
where you get more girls that are going to be playing like Caitlin Clark, who plays like Steph Curry.
exactly. Yeah, the talent level definitely. The gap has
It's
decreased.
decreased.
Yeah,
The biggest difference now between the men's and the women's game is the fact that there's just more good men's players than there are good women's players. But in the next 20 years, that will probably change as well.
exactly, because the men had such a head start to it.
Yes, that's the only reason as to why. But the skill level, it's just about equal at this point.
So we were discussing how the team has got a lot of the players coming back from the last 2, 3 seasons. It sounds like there's a lot of familiar faces. Who are some of those familiar faces?
So, like I said, we got Chris Coffey. He's a Louisville native, which is pretty cool for him. Keith Braxton is in his third year as well. He's from St. Francis, NEC Player of the Year back in 2019, I think. And that's our local Division One university around here. Then our second year players, you have Jermaine Marrow, HBCU Player of the Year. He came off the bench for us last year. Marcellus Erlington actually went to my cousin's high school in New Jersey. So that was the connection there to Don Bosco Prep. Shout out Don Bosco. Then you have Cullen Russo and Jacob Conway. So those are the stick players that are the returners. And then Alonzo Verge. And Alonzo Verge has a chance to be a star in this tournament.
Oh
Has a
wow,
chance to be a star. A
nice,
star. A star of all stars.
awesome. So I
Um,
definitely will highlight that, just how you said that.
Yeah, he has a chance to do that. And we've seen from year one to year two players, take a big bounce. You didn't hear about Marcus Key in 2019 when we were out in Wichita. You were talking about Mo Creek. In 2020, I mean, you were still talking about Mo Creek, but you were talking a lot about Marcus Keene after that tournament. And Verge has a lot of, he played at Arizona State and Nebraska. He's a very, very good player. Different than Marcus. He's more of a pass first, type player, but he's a very, very, very good player.
Nice. So it sounds like everything is looking good. Are there any new faces that we should know about?
Yeah, we're working on a couple things right now. Jericho Helms played at NC State, is new to the roster this year. And then we're looking to add 1 to 2 more players here within the next couple weeks. One, there might be a meeting going on right now to see if that's going to happen or not. And so can't really speak much more to those, but you could wake up tomorrow and see we added another player. And I didn't lie to you, but it could be happening now. It could take a week. You just don't know how those things go.
Exactly. That is the crazy thing about the TBT is just finalizing those rosters, making sure all the schedules line up.
Yep. That's the big thing.
Obviously, the most important booster is your mom, but who are some of the other boosters, sponsors, content providers that you want to give thanks to?
Yeah, so the big one is we have a new sponsor this year, Integrity First Home Buyers. They're out of York, where Charlie's from, Pennsylvania, York, Pennsylvania. And they were generous enough to help us get into TBT. And then the same sponsor we've had for a while. He's actually our vice president as well. His name's Tyler McGawkey, former Division One football player. He's a physical therapist now. He actually kind of got his start by coming to TBT with us and acting as, like, a personal trainer, I guess, not a personal trainer, an athletic trainer. And, his business has grown tenfold since then. When you're working on CJ Miles and Marcus Keene, these people are kind of, well, CJ Miles, obviously, but Marcus Keene was a celebrity in our hometown. And so, it kind of gave him a little bit of cachet. And so every year he's been very generous in helping us out. Content creating wise, we stick to Louisville now just because it's easy. And so Tanner York did our stuff last year, and he's going to do it again this year, is what it seems like. And so, yeah, those are really the two big sponsors that we got. And then, it's small donations from people in the community that support what we do. The mission above all else, and then the TBT is always second behind the mission. And so, it's a team effort to put this group together, but we feel as if we have a pretty good group of guys again.
Jordan, it sounds like you all are going to have another great season in the TBT. Before we let you go, where on social media, where on the web can our viewers find out more about you?
So you can visit sidelinecancer.com. That's going to take you to the website. It's going to show you, what we do philanthropically first, more so than anything else, to be honest with you. And then the second place you can go is Instagram. Sideline.cancer is our big Instagram account. It has over 11,000 followers. Coincidentally, about 4,000 of those followers came that night that Mo Creek hit that shot, which is kind of funny. Like, we took in a big boost in, a matter of about 30 seconds. But yeah, that's where you can go. I always say, if you don't want to donate and you don't necessarily know who we are, simply just following us on Instagram is a big thing. There you're going to find, right now we're in TBT mode, but you also see we're in AAU mode. And then by the time September rolls around, the school year comes back around, we're in philanthropy mode for 6 months then. And you can just kind of follow our Instagram story and follow our page, and you'll see it's pretty cyclical. Philanthropy through the winter months, and then sports, club sports, and TBT in the summer months.
Nice. I was going to say it probably hasn't happened yet because of the amount of time, but I wonder, are there any of your AAU players that have made it up to the TBT?
So that's going to be the last iteration of what we do, hopefully. So you never can project 4 years in this tournament and whatnot, but I've actually had phone calls in the last 2 days talking about multiple of them, honestly.
Nice.
The last iteration of this, this group will go, for as long as this group will go. But, Your Majesty Washington's been in the AAU program now for 5 years. And on the boys' side, this is like our first real graduating class. We kind of started it lower. The girls, we've had multiple graduating classes now. But Your Majesty's got, a lot of D1 people contacting him, Cam Sweeney. Then I got two kids local here. One, Dylan Stohan at Forest Hills High School, shout out. He's got Illinois, West Virginia contacting him. And then Dante Tysinger in Johnstown, which is about 40 minutes from here. He's going to Boston University. And so these guys are all TBT guys that are I know them personally. And I'm like, man, 5 years from now, they could all be playing for us. I mean, there's a possibility, with the way the NCAA rules are going, that could actually happen sooner rather than later, which is crazy to think about, that these kids could be playing in this tournament.
That would be phenomenal. I was going to say, with how the rights of the players have expanded so much, it seems like, they might have the ability to, in the off season, say, hey, coach, I'm going to be doing this instead. So, to work on my game in the off season, kind of like how there's winter baseball. This would be the equivalent of summer basketball for them.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And so we'll see where the NCAA rules go and whatnot, because they didn't allow Wisconsin, Green Bay to play in this tournament. So.
Sounds great. Well, Jordan, it has been a pleasure having you on this show today, and we look forward to seeing you down there in Louisville.
Hey, appreciate it there. Thanks. Believe always.
Have a good one.